Welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jamison Rabbit, and today I'm joined by a man who doesn't care for the taste of human flesh. His name is Mike Roth.
You can't be more wrong.
Wow.
No, I'm kidding. No, I am not a cannibal. I don't eat people.
The first thing you say when you think of Mike Roth, not a cannibal.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
that.
Contrary
and
to
only
public
that.
opinion, not a cannibal. That's good. There's a reason we talk about that, but we will get into that in just a bit. But first up this week, we have a bunch of movies to review for you, and so let's
Four,
jump.
I believe.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah.
It was my understanding there would be no math today, but I think you're right.
Yeah, we didn't do the countdown.
All right. So let's jump right into what is on the marquee this week. The first movie we have is The Intern. Michael, The Intern comes to us from director Nancy Meyers, who is kind of the guru of rom-coms and dramedies throughout the last decade or so. Your favorite genres, of course. And it is starring Robert De Niro as a man named Ben and Anne Hathaway as a lady named Jules. And Jules has created a startup company, online company that has turned her into a multimillionaire. It is a hugely successful corporation that she's got running. And they decide to open up an intern program for senior interns. Not seniors in high school, not seniors in college, seniors in life.
Was it a typo?
No, it was a misunderstanding. But
Oh, okay.
So Robert De Niro was a longtime salesman and worker in this phone book company. Gets hired on to be the intern in this company, and he's put to task as the intern for Anne Hathaway's neurotic workaholic Jules, and it's basically him. Ultimately, they learn a little from each other.
Aww.
All right, I'm just gonna spoiler alert. They learn a little bit from each other.
That's crazy. I never thought a rom-com would do that.
Yeah, he offers some sage advice. She offers a chance at a new lease on life for him as an older man, and it's actually really enjoyable. Robert De Niro, he brought a lot of charisma to this role. It felt like he wanted to be there. And that's always nice because there was a period in time where it felt like Robert De Niro didn't care. It showed on screen that he didn't care. He was just taking a paycheck.
Yeah.
And he's kind of admitted as such recently in some of these movies, like, that was a paycheck. But there's kind of this late career renaissance that he's gone through with, like, Silver Linings Playbook and such. And it's nice. Robert De Niro's obviously, he's Robert De Niro. He's a great actor. And his charisma with he and Anne Hathaway, I thought was a lot of fun. It was actually really good. Rene Russo's in this as a love interest, and there's a lot of solid laughs. Like, it's not a rom-com, it's the dramedy. There's a lot of serious moments, a lot of drama between them, but there's a lot of great solid laughs, and De Niro delivers a lot of the laughs, which is always nice.
Yeah.
When De Niro smiles and laughs, it's always hilarious because he has a weird face when he laughs. But it's a little long in parts. It is. I think it's 2 hours long.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of rare.
Yeah. There's a few parts in the middle portion where they start stacking on another plot, and I'm like, whoa! This is a little too many plots going on in this, in this movie. But it's sweet when it needs to be. It's fun. If you are a fan of the show Workaholics, which I am, 2/3 of the guys from Workaholics are in the movie.
Oh, cool.
And they're a lot of fun. And it's an enjoyable time. And, whether you like these sweet and sappy movies, which this does fall into, I recommend it. I gave it 3.5 stars.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with the movie. And Anne Hathaway is one of those actresses that, depending on the role, I think can be incredible or can be intolerable. And I think this was one of those. She played the neurotic workaholic really well. She wasn't whiny or annoying. She just played the overwhelmed girl who wanted everything and couldn't have it all. And she played it really well. And De Niro was great. De Niro was...
I tell you what, even if De Niro is phoning it in, I've never seen him as a person that I disliked. I never said, nah, I really
No,
hate
but
him.
there's some movies, Analyze That, Showtime. There's some movies in there where it's like, you're Robert De Niro. Why are you saying yes to every script that comes across your desk?
But
You're not Nick Cage.
You definitely don't hate him. You just like,
No. But
you
it's
could've
just
done
like,
better.
come on, you're better than this.
Yeah.
And it felt like he was like, let's have some fun. I'm ready to do this. And he's working with great talent with Rene Russo and Anne Hathaway. It's great talent. And so, yeah, I recommend The Intern. Like I said, 3.5 stars. Go check it out.
Well, would you like a movie that I probably won't recommend you to go?
I would love one.
Well, I went to see the horror movie that just came out. Thanks to the Blumhouse guys, Eli Roth's Green Inferno, which was made 2 years ago, finally made the mainstream. Finally. This is Eli Roth's ode to one of his favorite horror movies, Cannibal Holocaust, which was made in 1980. I have not seen this movie, but this was the movie that got him into wanting directing. But
really?
Yeah.
Cannibal Holocaust did.
Exactly. And
wow.
and I'm just
that says a lot about Eli Roth.
I'm going to get this out of the way because really, the making of this movie is more interesting than the movie. He went and he got a tribe who's never been photographed before, so this is all on set.
He's going to steal their spirits.
He's going to. Well, no, they're actually really cool, and there is a story where the tribesmen were so happy to be in this movie, and their first movie that I ever saw also was Cannibal Holocaust. They thought it was a comedy, but they were so happy to be part of this that they gave the producers a 2-year-old child, which they turned down.
Okay, good. This is good.
But we're not really watching the making of. We're watching the full-fledged movie, which unfortunately is not as good as the making.
Not so much.
This takes place, we have young Lorenza Izzo, who plays Justine, a freshman in college. And she's getting into the college scene, and she sees this cute boy who's into protesting, and he really cares for, like, the rainforest and stuff. So she, like, anything where you have a cute boy, you have to follow. They go all the way down to the Amazon to save a portion of rainforest. They managed to kind of save it for a couple of days, and they're happy. They're flying away. They're enjoying beers. They're going yay, and they crash in the middle of area occupied by cannibals.
Always cannibals.
It's really not that deep. One by one, people get eaten.
Oh man. We would love to have you for dinner, wink.
Oh.
Yeah, that's always the line when the cannibals are around, right?
It's the terrible acting. You can't say, well, the acting was good. The characters...
Well, they are... Are we talking about the tribesmen who have never seen a
No, the tribesmen were perfect. I believe
good.
that they were tribesmen, except for they were an unnatural hue of red, which you see if you ever see
They all stared into the camera the entire time.
Well, Eli Roth, he spent enough time with them and showed them what a movie was. They didn't spend their time...
You use the term movie very loosely with Cannibal Holocaust.
It's feels more like a pet project that someone wanted to have fun with, but it's not a funny movie. There's some parts where you think Eli Roth tried to attempt humor with a long bowel movement noise.
Oh boy.
Or a scene of personal pleasure, and it was awkward and ill-placed.
That's not what I want in my cannibal movie.
No, it's actually there was one scene which was grossly humorous, but the rest of the movie just felt oddly terrible. And you could have these sweeping, beautiful scenes, but they went with a shaky cam. There's this point where you're seeing this majestic leopard or cheetah or something like that, and I couldn't figure out what it was until everybody's like, oh, that's it, and the cameraman actually zoomed in, and it felt like to me they never wanted this animal in. Someone was just like, oh my gosh, look at that, and they turned around and they made an entire 10-minute scene out of something that the viewers couldn't even see. And the rest of the movie was just shaking and screaming and blood and stuff like that. This is a terrible thing. I'm going to have to tell you.
Having said all that, 4.5 stars, right?
This is not a spoiler. I think they want everybody to know this, but there is a Marvel-like segment into the credits.
Okay.
That kind of promises a sequel.
Get out of here.
With one of the worst characters you will ever have the unfortunate, you're like, out of all the people, all of them would have been better, except for that guy. He's horrid. I don't want to see any more of him. The movie would have been better without this character, and they're kind of promising a sequel with him. And that's all I'm going to say. If you see the movie, which I don't think you will, because very rare do I go into a movie for opening week and no one is there but me. This is the case. I was the only one there. I don't think they made tons of money.
No,
the fact that this was made 2 years ago and it's just becoming...
And this is from a production company that puts out a movie every week.
Yeah, Blumhouse is the only horror
They're like,
guys
what you got? We'll
in
put it
town.
out. Let's do it.
I would love to see maybe a documentary about the making of Green Inferno. It just sounds extremely interesting and lighthearted. There's another, this is the last story I'm going to say for the background. There's another point where they had the set and there's like bones and half-rotten people and spikes coming out all over the place and a Christian boat filled with people who wanted to. They see it and they get really scared and they start, singing at the top of their lungs until the producers went out. No, don't worry, don't worry. It's like, oh, that must have been a very interesting set.
What did you? I don't think you gave your score. What did you ultimately give the movie?
1.5, and I think 1.5 of it really is actually the background
the
of
story
this.
of it. That's
and
awful.
there was one part where I chuckled. There is some gross.
I mean, it
gore.
is. It's a dark. It's kind of like that's what made the Cannibal Holocaust such a thing, and it got banned all over in different countries. Was because it's a shock factor. It's a taboo subject.
Oh, this got a solid rated R. They didn't have to cut anything from it. There's some
should've.
gore, but it doesn't look realistic, and it's tasteless, but
All
not
these things
humorous.
sound great.
I mean, it's really not that.
Mike says 1.5.
1.5, which
A
if you
generous
don't
1.5.
if you don't know our score, 2.5 is par.
That's an average movie.
Yeah. 2 is bad. 1.5. Please don't see this unless you have to for some reason.
Exactly. All right, moving on, sir. On the marquee this week, we also have a movie called Pawn Sacrifice. Pawn Sacrifice, based on a true story, by director Edward Zwick. And it stars Tobey Maguire as Bobby Fischer. Now, if you know anything about chess or have even seen what a chessboard looks like, probably the one name you know in chess is Bobby Fischer. He was the great hope for America. He was the one that you would remember. This is the story of Bobby Fischer. And Bobby Fischer was a young man, a chess prodigy, who came up and was kind of shaking the foundation of the chess world with what he was able to do at such a young age, being a grandmaster, beating these amazing champions at this age. And the movie is set with the backdrop of the mounting Cold War between us and the Soviet Union. And in all areas of everything, the Cold War is on. Us versus Russia in everything. Space, in sports, and in chess. Because who is the greatest country in the world with chess? Who has all the chess masters?
All the Russians.
Why, that's the Russians.
Yeah.
And so Bobby Fischer's goal in life, nay, his obsession in life, is to beat the Russians.
Yeah.
Specifically one man who is the great champion, Boris Spassky, and that is played by Liv Schreiber. And he becomes the new obsession for Bobby Fischer. And there's something off with Bobby.
Yeah.
And this paranoia starts to build within him. This mental illness starts to build within him. He starts to think he's always being followed. His phones are tapped. A lot of stuff is going on, but he's driven on one thing. I've got to beat Spassky.
Yeah.
No matter what, I have to beat him.
He had to beat all the Russians.
He had to beat all the Russians.
Number one in the world.
Right, but Spassky was the last one, the last guy he could not get past.
Yep.
And unfortunately, in doing so, it was a bit of a PR campaign for the U.S. because this is our chance to beat Russia in something. They beat us into space. We need to beat them on the chessboard. This is their field. We got to beat them. And so he became a pawn in the PR game, and that I think started to work against him. And the film is basically just the telling of that story, of that his upcoming what made him a little bit off, and then the circumstances around the Spassky matches.
It was the pressure that since what he already had was a mental illness, but you have that extra stress. And I don't play competitive sports, but I would assume if your competitive sport is solely on what your brain is using, sitting in a chair for 5 hours doing nothing but trying to psych out silently your opponent, I would assume that would have a lot of stress and probably degrade your situation even further.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot from his childhood. You see that there was some issues between him and his mom.
Yeah.
But it only got worse. And there's a couple other key characters in this movie. There's Father Bill Lombardi, who is a Catholic priest, played by Peter Sarsgaard.
He did a great job.
He was amazing in this movie, and he is a bit of the sounding board for Bobby, because he's the one man that Bobby trusts, because he knows chess. He beat Bobby when they were younger. He also beat Spassky.
Yeah.
So he has earned Bobby's trust, and there's some great moments where he is kind of the calming voice when Bobby starts to really go off, and they just run chess scenarios in their mind, and it's amazing how you can do that. Like, I would do this, you do that, I would do this, and you can see that this is kind of the calming, centering influence on him. And Peter Sarsgaard was great in that.
Yep.
And Michael Stolberg as Paul, his agent, who is kind of the guy who's pushing Bobby and trying to make avenues for him, and gets utterly frustrated by Bobby as he decides, I'm not playing.
Yeah.
Unless my new demands are met, these crazy demands that I have, we have to play in the rec room, we're not playing in front of the cameras, blah, 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 and he's the one that's exasperated by it. I thought he did an excellent job as well. And Liv Schreiber, I thought, was good. He didn't have to do a whole lot. He kind of just sat there and stared at him.
I know this sounds kind of cruddy, but every time I see him, I only see Sabretooth. That's it.
Oh, that's awful. Oh, you would hate to hear that. The one thing that I liked was Edward Zwick used a lot of really interesting visual aesthetics to tell the story. It would go from black and white to like a washed out color, kind of a vintage looking, film looking look of it. And then it would go to this first person view from Bobby's eyes. The way that he showed his paranoia and this obsession, how he would look back on the chessboard and the moves that were made. And then a lot of the story was told through vintage news reports.
Yeah.
And I thought that kind of teetered on almost too much. Like, they used a lot of that to get your exposition out about what's going on, what's happening now. Well, another news report, another news. But I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was effective.
I thought it made it sag a little bit in the middle of the movie. I felt there was a point where I was thinking this is going on a little bit too long. And personally, I'm just getting out my gripes about it right now. Tobey Maguire, I think, was a poor choice for an actor for Bobby Fischer. Bobby Fischer was actually kind of an athletic, attractive young man. You know, he looked like he could probably play any sport, but he's a prodigy at chess.
Yeah.
Where when Tobey Maguire is asked these questions, what would you have done if you're? Well, I would have been an athlete. It's like, no, it doesn't. It's not quite right. Yeah. Well, having Tobey Maguire play Bobby Fischer made Bobby Fischer seem more insane than he was. I mean, he was off, and
it got progressively worse.
His life became extremely tragic. And not to downplay his mental illness. Yes, he did have mental illness, but I think there could have been points of clarity with the real Bobby Fischer, and Tobey Maguire made it seem like there was never a point of clarity.
See, I disagree on that, though. I thought that the progression of his paranoia and his mental illness and all that, I thought it was done well in that there were times, especially when he was dealing with Lombardi, where you could see him kind of come out of it for a moment. And then he would delve deeper into it, and weird things like when he would hear the cameras and all that. I mean, that was real. That was what he was doing.
But you gotta imagine the stress. I mean,
Yeah.
he has the mental illness, but even a person of sound mind. This is the height of a Cold War.
Yeah.
This is when normal people at home were scared that a nuclear bomb will land on them at any time.
And that's why he is still a household name when it comes to chess.
Yeah.
30, 40 years later, because he was the one. He was the great hope to take down the Russians.
And he wasn't able to share this experience he was having with, like, the hockey players when we played in the Winter Olympics.
Yeah, the 80 Olympics. Yeah.
It was Bobby Fischer. No other person beating all the Russians with our expectations from the media and from politics that he has to be the best. And you sit there and try to concentrate on one game while hundreds of people are watching you and thousands of people are watching you.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was really, really well done, though. Myself, I thought the tying his illness together with his genius, I thought they did really well. And there's a great. I mentioned in our last episode. There's a great documentary if you want to see that kind of is a great companion piece of this called Bobby Fischer versus the World, that talks about all of this.
Yeah.
And the unfortunate postscript to the story of Bobby Fischer. But
Yeah.
Ultimately, what did you give Pawn Sacrifice?
I gave it a 3. It was a good movie. I had problems with Tobey Maguire's performance, or the choice of using Tobey Maguire, sorry. And I did think it was a little heavy in the middle. I needed it to kind of pick it up a little bit.
I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. I liked that we were forced into the frustration and the impatience that everyone else was forced into at the time. I liked that at one point I didn't like Bobby Fischer. I was rooting almost for the Russian at one. I felt sympathetic towards the Russians at one point because of the games that he was playing, and I thought that was really effective way to do it.
I just want to say this. My favorite scene is with Boris and
Yeah.
the chair. When it seemed
Yeah.
Bobby Fischer's insanity was going
has
on to
moved
Boris.
on.
Oh, I love that. That was funny.
All right, let's move on to our last film that's on the marquee this week. Sarah, go ahead.
Oh, Hotel Transylvania 2.
Yes.
Adam Sandler's back at it again with his monster buddies. Adam Sandler plays Dracula. In the first movie, he had problems with his daughter dating a human. He really doesn't like human. He's kind of a human racist. But he gets over it in the first movie, and now we're on to the sequel where he opens up his Hotel Transylvania to his daughter's wedding. And with every married couple, eventually, if luck is bestowed, they have children.
Yep.
And Dracula is a little concerned that his little baby grandson is not going to be a vampire.
Not
It's
gonna
going to
pop
be
those fangs.
Yeah, it's just going to be a dirty human. So his daughter, Mavis, she doesn't like the dangers around there, and she was thinking about going to the human world with her grandchild. Well, Dracula can't have that, so while Mavis is checking out the human world, he and his monster buddies try to straighten him out.
Yeah, road trip time.
Yeah, road trip time. His buddies are going to teach him how not to be human and to pop out his fangs.
Yep.
And yep, that is the story,
That is
right?
the story.
Pretty much
And
in a nutshell.
It is basically the entire voice cast returning from the previous one. You get a couple of replacements. Keegan I can't even say his name. Keegan Michael Keith, sorry, takes over for the voice of Murray. You add in Nick Offerman and Megan Mullally as the human grandparents' voices.
Yeah.
But I think the most effective part of this movie is the road trip, basically. When the crew gets together, the Mummy, the Wolfman, the Frankenstein, Dracula, they go off on the road and they're telling stories about the good old days. And I love that because I'm a sucker for those universal monsters.
I am too. I really love
those.
those.
Are just the greatest things. And so when they talk about the good old days, I'm like, yeah, that's right. When monster movies were monster movies. And they talk, oh, I can't do this anymore, and the Wolfman's like, I don't go hunt at things anymore. They got supermarkets now, man.
Well, it's like Adam Sandler's shtick lately is to complain about technology.
Yeah.
He's done it already twice this year, and it's been in his movies a lot since Click. That I'm afraid
Sure.
he thinks technology is
Technology's
scary
bad.
and confusing, and it just I'm tired of it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of that shtick.
But you know what? I think this is probably his best role for quite a while. Now, that's not saying a lot.
No.
That's damning with faint praise. But I think this is his best. I think he needs to just take a step back because there's been a lot of bad coming out recently.
I think it's the same Adam Sandler shtick. It's the same character he's always been. It's not fresh anymore.
Yeah.
But if you love Adam Sandler and you want an Adam Sandler movie, I guarantee this is an Adam Sandler movie.
This movie is hugely
got
successful.
a lot of,
it broke the record for biggest September opening ever.
Yeah. Yes.
Shockingly.
No, millions. 48 million on the weekend. Yeah.
Shockingly huge opening for it because the first one was not a huge success.
Yeah.
Successful enough to spawn a sequel, but not anything like a monster success that you would assume.
I think partially it's because there's really no kids movies out right now.
Yeah, that's a
and
big part of it.
Everybody's excited about Halloween,
Sure.
and they're the first one to
Right
do
out
it
of the
like
gate.
we've been doing with Christmas for
Yeah.
a long time. Just like,
Target's
okay,
already
it's
got
end
the
of
Christmas
September,
out. Let's get it going.
October.
I enjoyed Hotel Transylvania 2. I liked it better than the original.
Yeah.
I thought it was fun. I liked the dual dynamics of the checking out the human world, the monsters in the human world, and then the road trip with the gang. I thought that was a lot of fun. I like Kevin James as Frankenstein. He's a lot of fun.
By the way, 10th thing that Adam Sandler has done with Kevin James.
Oh yeah, I believe it.
Yeah. Twice this year, if you're not including the Mall Blart movie.
He finds he's loyal to his group of guys.
Oh, yeah,
and he
he
gets
is.
some work consistently. So
Yeah.
I ended up giving Hotel Transylvania 3 stars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought it was a very mediocre movie. I think kids under 10 will absolutely love this. Lots of sight gags, a little bit of potty humor. Can't go wrong with that, I guess, if you're under 10. But as an adult, I found it kind of boring and
what'd you give it?
predictable. I gave it a 2.5.
2.5, right down the middle. Let's quickly jump into the time machine and check out our Real Reviews movie throwback for this week. And we went back all the way back to the year 1994 for a movie that deals with vampires. And it deals with people being eaten.
Yep.
It deals with somebody having maybe an intern working underneath them,
Yeah,
right?
a little bit of sacrifice.
Yeah, right.
Not fun.
I'm sure they learned how to play chess through all those centuries of living. And that is 1994's Interview with the Vampire, based on the Anne Rice novels about the vampire Lestat.
Yeah.
Starring Tom Cruise as Lestat and a younger Brad Pitt as Louis, his vampire friend that he created. A very young Kirsten Dunst is in this film. And
Another vampire he created.
Yeah, another vampire he created. And it's basically the story of Lestat, Louis telling a writer played by Christian Slater the story of how he was made, the torture and the turmoil of being a vampire. It's not all glitz and glamour as a vampire. And it was, I remember when this came out, this was a huge thing for Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
To be the vampire?
Yeah.
What? You're gonna hide him underneath that stuff?
I remember those tabloids. I'd be sitting at the supermarket and look at a cover. It seemed like anytime they had a chance, a picture of Tom Cruise as this vampire before the movie came out, they would take it.
I think it
I don't think
still
Brad
holds.
Pitt ever did anything similar to this either before this.
No, Brad Pitt was like he was pretty early on in his career as far as being a big star, and I think it holds up pretty well. 21 years later, rewatching it, the effects hold up really well.
Yep.
The story is fun, and I like the dynamic between them. Now, those behind the scenes, they hated each other.
Yeah.
Brad Pitt begged to get off of this movie because he couldn't deal with Tom Cruise, but on screen, I think their chemistry is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And I think it looks really great visually, especially for the time period. It does. A lot of movies in this time period, 94, look like 1994 and feel like 1994, and this one doesn't. I like that. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else?
It's a great movie.
It's available on
I think
Netflix.
you pretty much said it all.
Yeah.
It's a great movie. If you have not seen this, this is again another one of those movies you got to watch, especially with Halloween time coming around. Check it out.
Indeed. It is on Netflix. Check it out. But let's take a look real quickly at what is coming soon. The weekend of October 9th, we have 2 movies that are coming out. We're going to hit them real quickly. The first one is Pan, the live-action Peter Pan movie with Hugh Jackman and a crew of kids. I'm looking forward to that.
Yep.
And the second movie we have is it'll be a limited release, is Steve Jobs, about the Apple founder, Steve Jobs, starring Michael Fassbender.
It's been a long time since I saw
Yes,
the Jobs
since we saw a
movie.
Steve Jobs movie. But those will be coming out the weekend of October 9th. Before we leave you, we would like to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, The Palace here in Sun Prairie, Wisconsin. Thank you for sponsoring the show.
Thank you.
If you want to find more from us, you can do so on Facebook and Twitter and anywhere else that you would find shows. Just look for Real Reviews TV. You can't go wrong, right?
Yeah.
103.5, The Sun. That's a great place to listen to us. Why not? But until next week, when we are talking about The Martian and The Walk and Sicario.
Looking forward to next weekend so much.
I am as well. My name is Jamison.
I'm Mike Roth.
Thanks for watching.